Hey everyone, it's Tom. Nancy's kind of taking a week off. She might be on later on. So, hope everybody's doing good. There's nine of us that are on here. So, updated my background. That's not my updated picture. Oh, maybe it is. Didn't think it was that sunny out. I have to move to see. No, that's an old picture. Because the hive right behind me is not a hive right now. But that's pretty much how it looks like, though. Two deeps and a bucket on top feeding them. That's probably last month's picture. Hey, Kimberly, hope everything's good. So we just got between yesterday and today an inch and a half of rain, which is good. Um, there's actually one more little line. Actually, got some red in it, so heavy rain coming in about an hour from now, and that'll be the end of it. So we'll end up a little bit more than an inch and a half. We need it. And in my area, the goldenrod is still good. Um, but I had to drive up northern part of town, northern part of 275, Cincinnati, and I noticed the goldenrod there was pretty much done. And I was down at my brother's farm last week, and it was done. But right in my local area, it was the last. It was one of the last ones to start blooming. So maybe tomorrow it's supposed to be sunny. I think a high of 70, 68, 70. So hopefully there's a good flow starts flowing again. Um, I checked my hives 2 weeks ago, and I'd say two thirds of them were heavy enough for winter. Another half of the third was medium, and then I had like two hives or three hives that were light. So I decided to feed them all at that time. It was like 3 weeks ago. One more time, and that's what's on the hives right now. I noticed a couple of them are about half empty. Most of them are getting close to empty, so they were still taking it down. But I got a feeling tomorrow they won't need to be flow. So I got a little bit of goldenrod left just in the local 2 to 3 miles around me, which is what they fly anyway. And pretty decent. The esters are now blooming pretty good, but they're really small flowers. So James, you had well, you're having your first frost tonight. Yeah, the front's just now coming through my area, about 8:30, 9 o'clock tonight with that last bit of rain. And I think tomorrow morning, I think it's only going down to 50. Thursday morning is supposed to be 42, 43, and then Friday morning is the coldest morning. It's supposed to go down around 39, 40. But that won't be cold enough for a frost. So we usually get a frost around the third week of October. So this will cool us down enough. And then when the next front comes through next weekend, the second to the third week of October, then we'll have our first frost. So, hey, Scott, unlikely beekeeper. Um, so we're not going to quite get the um, frost this time, this cold front. It was 85, 86 degrees just 2 days ago, all last week. So it had to cool down this first section. I think by the weekend we're supposed to be, or early next week we're supposed to be back up to the mid 70s, and then I'd say at the end of next week, the weekend we'll have that next big cold front, and then 2 or 3 days after that, probably next Monday, will be the frost. would be my guess, which would be a little early. Well, we usually get it the second week of October to the end of October. It's rust. Yeah, I'd say yesterday was my probably last 80 day. It will be the last 80 day. Today it only got up to 70 degrees because it rained all day. It lasted half of yesterday, all last night, and today. So some places got 2 inches of rain. I think I got inch and a half to maybe inch and three quarters when it gets all done with in about an hour. So it's definitely cooling down. Um, yeah, I need to find out how I can update my picture too. Manage layout. Yeah, no good. Let me close it. Well, I have to figure out how to update my layout. I updated it in YouTube, but it didn't get updated. So yeah, so definitely fall is coming or is here. I think this cold front is going to hit pretty much go all the way down to the south. They'll probably just get down into the mid 50s for the southern guys. So I'm getting all my winter feed to put on top of the hives. I pulled out all my shims. I got 22 shims sitting behind me up against the barn to put on the hives. Probably in the middle of November, somewhere in that time frame. It all depends how cold it gets. If it stays warm like it's been lately, it might be till December. But I'll put them on, and then right now I got 18 of my homemade fondant, um, anywhere from 2 1/4 to 2.5 pounds. 18 and a half. I got one that's like just over a pound is what was left over. I have 17 2 pounds iodide fondant, and then I have about 1 1/4 5-gallon buckets full of scrap pieces of sugar bricks that I've used that was left over from last year. So the good news is I don't need to make any more to feed the hives this year. I got enough to put probably about 4 pounds in every hive of either fondant or sugar brick in each hive. So that's looking good. Did you watch? All right. Yeah, Scott, I did. But I used Matt's fondant recipe that I got right here. So we're all good, very similar. So yeah, I like being retired because this is the most prepared I've been, and having a lot of half to quarter brick, 3 pound sugar bricks left over from last year. Um, I got plenty to put on the hives this year. And, I did go through this is my first full year, but my third year really not treating my bees. Last winter, in November and December, I did a silic acid vapor once, first week of each month, approximately the first week of each month. I did that to 2024 to 25. I haven't done any treatment 25 to here to 26. The year before that, I just did one in January. So I've done very little treatment Hey, Vincent. No, I've never done anything like that. This was my first year um, doing that stuff, the fondant. So maybe next year, since I don't think I need to make any. I followed Matt's, oh, what's the name of his YouTube? It's the city he lives in. Shoot, I can't remember. Yeah, it's not cooking with beekeeping. They're cooking with yeah. I did a brisket last week when I'm a smoker, so I didn't do a video on that one either. I'm not very good on doing, well, I can't say I'm Sandy Valley. There you go. I was brain dead on that one. Thank you, Russell. Matt did one last year that was a pretty good one. And that's where I got my recipe from. And he gave me a 2 to 3 pound pack of it in Albany last year at the No Life dinner, and the bees really liked it. So I'm set. I got a little bit of rocket fuel in it put in it too, so it should all be good. But what I was going to say, hives 1, 2, and 3 are really strong still. I got 3 hives, 4, 5, and 6 that duck carnies with the little Russians in them. They're not real big, so they might have already. I haven't looked at them yet. I'll be taking the lids off of them in a little bit just to look down in them. But they've really cut back already. But I've only had I've only had one hive so far out of the 39, 40 hives that don't look real good. When I checked them, I didn't see any disease with them. There's just, I think it was a swarm, and I think it's just a bad queen. That was a swarm that they replaced her pretty mid-season, so they might not have um, um, rebounded fast enough here for winter. So, hey, bee nuts, honey, Chris. I hope everything's good. I got Vincent. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. So yeah, I think I'm good in that aspect. I have back here in the back corner on the left side of my screen, I have 9 6/6 hives that right now I have no shims for. So I still probably starting this week. I need to make 9 small 6/6 frame wide shims just so I can put a little bit of sugar brick out on top of them. All 9 of them were from my VHS Corey Stevens Summer Solstice Queens. So I expect them to be good. Yeah, powdered sugar is not good for the bees, though, and honey. I think I saved my honey to sell, so I don't have a surplus of honey. Maybe next year, but then I'll find a place to sell it. Um, Seems like I'm always running out every year. I don't have enough hives to make enough honey, but then I'll sell it and there won't be enough. I'll need more hives. I might be cutting some hives back this coming year. I might get down to maybe lose about 7, 8 hives, cut back. I'm not sure yet. All depends if I can buy my neighbor's property. Regulation, state of Ohio regulations to be a farmer. I need 2 more acres, 2.05 acres to be a farmer. Then I can have as many hives as I want. Right now, I got too many on my property. Hey, Rick. So, yeah, so that's how I do. So I'll go through. So right now, all my hives look good. I don't see any diseases. Um, I haven't done any mite checks since early this year, and I won't do any more. I'm pretty good with just with the genetics I have. In fact, Bob Beanie had a YouTube out. I don't know if people seen it. They had Dr. Beck and his team where they did a pretty massive test on the Vaxan, the acrylic acid strips. They did the Vaxan strip, the Canadian strip. I don't know the name of it, and they did Bob Beanie's homemade um, slow release strips, and they did them the strips in between the brood, down the comb, or sitting on top of the frames. They definitely said putting strips on top of the frames is better than putting them inside the brood, down the brood frames. They also found out that Bob Beanie's strips did the best because he had the most acrylic acid vapor in them. He had 13.5 grams versus 7 grams and 12 grams, I think it was. But that's not the important part. The important part is that this test that they did of some few hundred hives, I forget how many, 500 maybe, did it over against 9 different queen genetics. And he posted at the very end the results of how many mites they counted in their testing. And they all agreed that the testing of the strips was not the important factor if the hives had low or high mites. The genetics of the queen was more important, was significantly more important than the treatment of mites in the hives. So I said, "Oh, that's very important. That's the same kind of thing I'm unofficially seeing the last 5 years with my hives and getting the right genetics." I did notice he bought some Poling queens from California, and at least that's where I think he got them from. He's going to put out another video with details on this, and they did really, really well. The queens that he bought from out in California, I believe out in California. And then he had some other ones labeled IS, which I have no idea who queens those were, and those were really good queens. So he had two queens, two types of queens from queen breeders that did excellent against mites. I mean, zeros, ones, and twos, zeros and ones mostly on every queen of that genetic from that breeder. So I think the real key is you need to have the right genetics. Now, the genetics could, I think we've turned the corner, and that's what they were talking about. There's going to be enough genetics in the field that maybe having mites is finally going to fade away a little bit. Yeah, Ravenshire. Yeah, Bob Beanie requeens every year to every year, or requeens the following year. So I try to requeen at least my main hives, the hives you see in my background, every year also. I already know hive number 3. That's the one that's second from the beginning that shows a bunch of bees on the front of the board, front of the hive. That hive's rocked this whole year. And Last year it rocked. I grafted from that hive this year, did all my grafting from it, and it actually swarmed this year, and it's hive number 20 in my yard. It's in my horizontal hive, my big horizontal hive. Um, that queen that queen came from my brother's farm 2 years ago. So I'm pretty sure it was an Amish queen, and it's really good on mites and pretty good on honey, and it's been one of my best hives. The five hives on the other end, on that end over here, are Corey Stevens VHS queens that I bought and I picked up from Nukes from King and Reynolds this spring. That had Corey Stevens, and they were open mated with Chris Warner down in Florida during the winter time. So it'll be two of those hives swarmed on me, and I caught their swarms. They requeened. So hive number 3, one of those 5 hives I'll be I'll be grafting next year. So pretty much the hives right in the center, these hives right through here, were swarms. So I don't know if they're going to make it through winter, but that's all right because I'm just trying to get genetics diversity and genetics in the property in the yard. Well, good luck, Vincent. Um, my bet is you'll lose 50, 70%, unless you know you've got good genetics in it already. It took the first 2 years ago was probably my hardest hit. I think I lost 40%, and I lost 30, 40% this past winter. There were all the hives that I had not requeened. I think I did. In fact, I talked about that on. I only lost one hive last winter. That was from my grafting of my good queen, mite resistant queens. All the hives I had lost were either old queens from other genetics I didn't from swarms from previous year, or grafts from the previous year that I didn't get came from my main genetics. I was just working that out these last couple of years. So I think I'm done catching a whole lot of swarms. I'm going to put 4 traps at my brother's farm to catch more of those Amish swarms, and that might be it. If I catch any more swarms, I'll just use the bees and put the queen 2 or 3 frames in a small Jester nuke box and let her go. And I'll probably just put her in one of Ricky horizontal hives, 5 framers, and let them go through winter and see if they make it, just to see what kind of queen they are. They use them as a test them first. I picked up another yard just a couple months ago, so I have some options to move some of the swarms over there and not treat them and see if they make it through winter, and that'll keep them off of my property. So that's probably what I'll end up doing. Put the 5 frame. I might even move the horizontal hive over there. It's got one. Not one of my queens. It was a cell that I cut out from one of my hives that swarmed, and I didn't replace the queen on. So they seem to be doing all right so far. But the hive's only a summer solstice hive, so I have no clue on mites. They didn't have time to get mites. So no September mite bombs happened. So didn't have to worry about it. I think that's more of a myth than anything for most people. So what time is 8 o'clock already? Well, first half an hour. Hey Scott, if you're still on there, you can hop on and help me out a little bit, so I don't have to do all the talking. So, Chris, you're in Central Missouri. All right. So you're probably getting pretty cold right now, probably tonight and tomorrow night. I'm sure you're 2 days ahead of me, a day at least. Yeah, 2 days. So I might lose 3 or 4 hives in the center there, but that'll be all right because that's the genetics that weren't my right genetics anyway. I'm going to put out a video. I got to go through all my notes and see which hives have my graphs in it versus swarms. I have it all documented in my notebooks, but I need to review them and then do a little video, YouTube. So I'll post it. I'll try to get that done this later on this week, this weekend. Yeah, like I said, we're going to get low 40s and maybe 40, 39, 40 Friday morning. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, my feral colonies or the swarms I get from my brother's farm definitely have good traits in them. I can't call them VHS traits. I don't know where the Amish get their queens from, if they just their own natural selection, or if they bought some queens just to help them out. I talked to them, 2 year and a half ago, at the grocery store down on my brother's farm, and we didn't get into that detail. We're just they saw my license plate and said, "Oh, you're the beekeeper," and they thought maybe I was around here, but I wasn't. An hour away. So well, I got to find out where they are. There's 2 big ones just within a mile of my brother's property. So the most of the swarms come from the north. My brother sees them fly in, and that's a big Amish. I think he's got about 100 hives, 75, 100 hives. So I get some of his swarms. So it's a good deal. So I might, when Bob Beatty puts out a second video, if they mention who those 2 queens that he had labeled Pulley dash cow, and then IS, especially the IS, whoever IS is, I might be buying some queens from them. Yeah, Vincent, I got the same thing. Maybe a little cool at the beginning, and then the second half above average. Hey, Keith, half track, half crazy track. I'm just kidding. That'd be good. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what's really going on. When I ever went to my hives, like I said, I'm going all double deeps this year. I don't have any singles. I don't think I'll be pushing any down, and I won't be. Every hive this year will be in a double deep, going into winter, because they all got honey above them, all but maybe one. Um, I'll put a shim on them. They're about an inch and a half tall shims, and then I'll add um, 4 to 5 pounds of fondant slash sugar brick on each hive. Then I'll put basically a half inch and a 1 inch high density board, which will give me R9.5. My lid will be basically R10. And I have a double bubble wrap on top of that, which is probably R1. So I'm right around R10, R11 on my lid. And that's how I ever went to my hives. I will, once it gets cold, December, maybe, depending on the weather, like I said, if it's above normal, I might not even do it, not till Christmas time. I'll push the hives together in two groups of 8, basically on my stand, since I got I got 15 hives. One hive doesn't exist, so I'll pull that hive off. I'll have a group of 7, a group of 8, and then I have an old pool liner, rubber pool liner that I cut, and I'll cover those hives up with the pool liner just as a additional windbreak. I'll leave the front open, but the sides and the back will be covered to keep any basically snow off of them and any cold breeze off of them. Yeah, the Poline beekeep breeding program. Those seem to be well. He bought Polines from at least 2 different breeders. And the one from California did really, really well. He had another Poline he bought from somewhere else that didn't do good. It were just they weren't any better than his other as non-genetic type queens. So he showed that in the list, but he didn't say exactly where they're coming from. So that's pretty much what I'll be doing. So I cover the hives up, I push them together, I cover them up with with a cover. I leave the entrance open. I only run a 2-inch by 3/8 opening on my hives all year round. In the wintertime, I put a wooden block in front of it where I'll keep it open just 3/8 to a half an inch opening, just enough so the bees can fly out and do their cleansing flights, and that's about it. So that's how I ever went to my hives. And the fondant and sugar bricks on top is mostly for February, first week of March, mostly February insurance policy. So I can really wait to put these shims on and the fondant as late as I want in the year. Usually in January, we don't get any warm days, so I'll probably do it. We're usually warm enough. The hives are 50 degrees or 55 degrees before Christmas. It seems right around Christmas we have another big temperature drop. That's like for the rest till February, basically. I use all solid bottom boards. When I first started, 2018, 19, and probably 20, I was 50-50 from screen bottom boards and solid bottom boards. And I found out that all my screen bottom boards, they were propolizing. In fact, one of them, there was probably only a circle size of a tennis ball left in the middle. And one more year, it would have been sealed up. So that was telling me right there the bees didn't want it to be open. So I went with all solid bottom boards. The only thing I don't like is I can't look for mite droppings or any other droppings onto a sticky board. But since I don't treat it anymore, I don't need that feature anymore either. So I also if I don't make the solid bottom boards, if I buy the solid bottom boards, I flip them upside down to the 3/8 side. And then I have this little apparatus. Oh, they're in the barn, so I could show you. I don't have any with me. They're 2 inches wide. Yeah, they're 2 inches deep, and the bees go in the middle, and then they have to go off to the side. They have to go 3/4 of an inch in through the bottom board. Then they got to go another inch in to get out to the two left or right side. And that's my entrance. It's a very unique entrance. I do that because it stops robbing, and it stops yellow jackets, and it stops wax moths or small hive beetles getting out of the hives to get down into the soil. So the only damage would be the damage they did in the hive after they hatched out. They don't need to go they can't get into the ground. The reason is my entrance isn't at the end of the board, bottom board. It's an inch up. It's actually 1.75 inches up from the outside. So when the yellow jackets or robber bees go into that hive and they try to get out, they go to the front of the hive, because that's where they went in, the front of the hive, to get out. And they realize there's a block, and they got to back up an inch. And these bees and yellow jackets aren't smart enough to back up an inch to get out of the hive. So it works really good. I don't have robbing issues. I don't have yellow jacket issues because of that. I did one video on that type of bottom board that I use. I also put them on the bottom board. I do a 2-inch cutout of the bottom board, and I slope it a little bit. So any rain that lands on the bottom board and pulls up doesn't go into the hive, because the bees actually have to land on the bottom board and then have to crawl up 3/4 of an inch up a ramp and then go into my entrance. So it kind of keeps the water out of the hives also on rainy days. So I have to do another video on my bottom boards. I also run all my hives except for my 2 apple May hives, and my 9 6/6 hives, all the warm way, which I call the warm way. Their entrances are on the long length, the 20 inches basically, of the hive. So you can kind of see that here on my hives. My entrances are all, my finger's not showing it good. There we go. My entrance is on the front, right there, versus the end of the hive. And I learned that from Randy, the dirt rooster. Had watched probably, shoot, I don't know how many his videos, and I had noticed that all his cutouts, the comb was either diagonally or perpendicular to the entrance, not running in parallel with the entrance opening. So I changed all my bottom boards to run more what I traditionally see in cutouts. Cutouts is the few I've done, and what Randy's done. And I talked to him about that 3 years ago when around down there at the Hive Life. I was down in Saurville. I talked to him about it, and he confirmed it with me then the following year. I also talked to Mr. Ed, and he talked about one house that he had at least 5 swarm traps, and He also mentioned that I always catch them on it was the left side of the house. He goes, I never catch them on the right side of the house. I've been doing this for 15, 20 years and I've never caught a swarm on the right side of the house. And he was down there too. So I talked to him. I said, the problem, the reason is that right side of the house is in full sun. The left side of the house is in full shade. I said, don't you do all your cutouts in the shade? He goes, yeah, all my hives cutouts are in the shade. So that also tells me that bees don't like to be in full sun. And their entrances are in the north, um, to the north, or the east of the building. Yeah, cross section of the bee tree are the way you described too. Yes, I've done it. I do about two this year. I only did one tree, but I usually do about 2 trees a year, and they're usually the same way, cross section to the entrance. So all my hives are that way, except for the apamate hives because it's plastic and I can't modify it. Actually, at Nalby this year, I'm going to ask him about it if he can make a bottom board with the pollen trap and all that being a cross section of the entrance. So I was even thinking to start mass producing them in my shop, and maybe have a booth next year with just bottom boards and the entrance that I use, or start selling them a little bit. So it's on my list. I'm going to be working on it this winter. I'm going to buy some solid bottom boards from Navy this year and convert them. So that's what I plan on doing. So let's see how it goes. I got 10 more of the my type of inklings. I need to buy a good 3D printer sometime in the real near future, and I'll start printing my own entrances. Hey, Rodney. So yeah, I'm an engineer, an electrical engineer, but I'm got a lot of mechanical in me too. I've got a brother that's a mechanical engineer. I got a piping engineer, my other brother. So I like to tinker with stuff, and beehives is one of them. So I've tried to mimic what I see in Mother Nature the best I could with the tools I got. So that's the deal so far. Yeah, I even looked up the Langstroth, the original design, and he had them at the end, just like they are today when you buy them. So I think I really question how much of a beekeeper he is or was when he designed his own box, the cold way versus the warm way. Hey, DC. Yeah, I got 21 people watching. That's not too bad. And Bob is probably on. He's been on now the last few weeks. That turkey, I filled in for him at the very beginning when he wasn't on because of his job. And he comes back and now he's working day hours. And he could have at least told me and say, hey, Tom, maybe I can join you or you can join me and we can team up. But he never contacted me. He has my phone number and email. We've talked before in the past. So he never did. So I said, heck with it. I'll just keep on going. So that's how my hives I set up for summertime and wintertime. I don't have to put mouse guards on because they're only 3/8. I don't have to worry about robbing because of my entrance design. Luckily, in my area, I don't get small hive beetles. I mean, I'll be a couple in half my hives, a few. 5 or 6 is a lot for one hive. And I don't go into my hives like most people do. Um, so when they seal the hives up at the top of the lid, inner cover, those small hive beetles die because I'm not breaking them open. And in fact, this year I only went into the brood box once this year. That was in April when I was doing splits and doing overwinter check. That's the only time I go into the brood box. I'd say most frames or every frame of the brood box is in April. Then when I go to put the honey on, I'll pull the top box off, make sure the queen's down the bottom box, and put the box. I'll look down in there, see how many frames of brood there is, but I'm not pulling frames out. I'm just looking at brood. You can see the brood versus the honey. That during the in April, and then when I pull the honey off again, um, I check that the top of the box to see how much brood is in there, and I pull that box off, look down in there, and close it back up. So I only actually go into the brood one time or 2 times. I used to go in 3 to 4 times. I used to do single brood management. I pull brood frames up from the bottom box and put them up in the top box. And I didn't like getting in those hives you know, every 2 weeks, basically, from April to the middle of May would be the last time. So I do April, the middle of April, the end of April, first of May, and then the middle of May. So calling frames, keep them from swarming. Having 2 boxes minimize, so being cleaning and having 2 boxes minimizes me needing to do brood frame management. So that's one reason. That's the biggest reason why I stopped doing single brood management. And I also found out I got better honey doing double deeps versus single brood management in my area. And the reason is my hives are bigger coming out of winter, being double deeps going into winter versus single deeps. When I did single brood management, my hives did not get big enough, or I didn't feed them enough after I pulled the honey to get them big early enough. I didn't feed them in August a whole lot. Just right when I pull the honey, I feed them a little bit, a gallon basically, just to get them through a day or two so they can start pulling nectar in. I just saw that my having double deeps all year round, I had bigger hives hives are bigger going into winter and coming out of winter bigger. So in the spring, early spring, our flow starts, early in 1st of April, even in March this year. I got to get those hives really built up, and we could start have snow in March, and we got flow going on. So I've been missing the first 3 weeks of the flow with single brood management. The hives just not are big enough. They don't get big until April, the middle of April, and then it's too late for that early flow. So that's the main reason. I do agree that you can get your hives big and have time to get them up big enough. Single brood management, you'll get more honey, but in my case, it doesn't work out too well. So anybody else up here? No. All right. So I was hoping Scott would jump on, but I don't think he's even on anymore. I haven't seen any texts from him. And I know Keith will get on because I've seen him on Thursdays with. So I know he knows he's not afraid to get on anymore. So he can't use that excuse anymore. So I might end it a little early. It's almost an hour. We can go hop on Bob's. Has Bob got one running? I'm sure he does. I haven't looked yet. Yeah, no life. He's got 55 watching. I got 20 watching. So, yeah. So if we want to do that, so I kind of did a little nutshell of how I do my beekeeping. So I'm going to do. Ian is on. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, he always gets the Canadian people on. He'll have Brad, Ian, James on there. They're a little team, Canadians. Someday they might be Americans. Who knows? That's a whole nother politics. But yeah, so I'm gonna do a video here in the next week. Once we get close to frost, of each one of my hives, the status of them, if they're one of my grafted hives or they're one of the swarm hives or unknown queen. Rate them 0 to 10, making it through winter, 10 being yes, 1 being no, and put that video out. So I plan on doing that probably next week. I'm kind of booked up through this week, so I'm thinking probably next week I'll be doing that. So that should be a good one. And then in the springtime, I'll go through a conclusion of which ones made it through. I'm just going to do the ones on the barn here. There's 15 of them. There's 16 hives, but one of them, that hive number 10, 11. 10, I finally got going. 11, it just never made it. It was a dud from day one. We queened, it didn't make it. Put a queen, 2 virgins in there, and they never made it. So something about that hive, I got to decorate it, paint it or something, so it's a different color. So Rodney, you're finally caught up with cutouts. Wow, you're a cutout man. Yeah, I only did one cutout this year. That was in a garage. I'm, not young anymore, so I don't want to be doing. I don't care doing that. If it's a friend, something like that. That's how this was. A friend of mine's daughter house had bees in the garage, in the floor between the garage ceiling and the first floor. So I just went in through the garage. It was one of those sand, popcorn ceilings. So he was going to rip it all out anyway. So I didn't even have to worry about putting it back. So Rodney, you did 30 of them. Wow. That's a lot of cutouts. That's a lot of hives. So Rodney, how many of those 30 didn't have queens or were in the middle of swarming, or had virgins? 10%, 50%? You don't have to give me a number like a percentage. I'm just curious. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm 64. I could do them, but I don't want to. Yeah, I'm 64. Be 65 next summer. Maybe even maybe the first day of summer. Some years it is, some years it isn't. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm going these back or this first back one right here has four 24 frame hives, 12 over 12 exits, 12 over 13, 25 frames in them. And then the one behind it right through here has 33 frames in it, 16 and 17, 16 over 16, basically 32, 33 frames. That one's got all three hives in it, and the first one here's got one here at the end. So the other three are empty. Those were all swarms that I caught this year that I didn't treat, and they're already gone. They didn't make it at all. So those were neighborhood swarms. Not very good ones. I did sell the queen out of one of them, so then I combined it. So actually, two out of the three didn't make it. They just get more good swarms or something. Maybe five. Okay, Rodney, that's not bad. So 25. So what do you do with all those cutouts? You're adding more hives, or giving them away, or helping people out, or what you doing with them? It's 30 hives, it's 25 queens. Selling the queens, combining the bees. Let me keep up with you, DC. Yeah, so on my horizontal hives, there's big ones there. I'm going to move some of these hives into that and fill those up. And then have four hives back here, because I'm only technically allowed to have four hives. So I don't know how they count that horizontal hive as one hive, because the state doesn't say colonies, it says hives. So one big hive that's in four sections, and nobody sees them back there. So I'm going to try to have more hives back there. Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. That's what I do with some of my swarms. I combine them. I take the queen out. I put them in my 5 or 10 frame box or my 6 frame box, and then 2 days, 3 days later, she'll be laying on one frame, and then I'll take that frame, and they usually have a food frame that they've already put all the honey in, and move those 2 frames into a 5 frame nuke, and then take the other 2 to 5 frames of bees or 8 frames of bees and combine them to another hive, just to make them stronger and make more honey. So that's what I'll be doing with my swarms this next year, except for my brother's farm. I'm going to document those, put them, I don't know what hive they'll go into, but or where they'll go, what property out of the 3 properties. Tomorrow I'm going to my property number 2 that has 4 hives. The stand can hold 5. I have to check those 4 hives. I haven't checked them since in 2 months. I haven't fed them. I got buckets for them. I'm going to take 4 buckets out with me for the 4 hives. I only took 3 frames of honey from those 4 hives. When I took the honey, I left most of it because I knew I wasn't going to be getting to them too much. One of those hives is one of my good hives, and I did a split with them. I did 2 splits. I did a 3-way split, and one of them made it and didn't make it. So I know 3 of the 4 hives got good genetics in it, and the other one was a queen that I don't know where she came from, but she's overwintered 2 winters in a row, and that's why I split her. So I'm pretty sure all 4 of those hives are pretty good genetic hives. I have to look them up, and now I just need to see how heavy they are. So tomorrow I'm going to do a check on all my hives on the weight, except my horizontal hives. That's another thing bad about horizontal hives. You can't check the weight on them. Or handle my individual hives, I can check the weight on them. But I just lift up the back end And I can feel if it takes me two hands to pick it up, but I can, then I know it's good. Um, I was going to say one more thing and I forgot. Oh shoot! Oh well, maybe I'll think about it. So I'm going to go to the other property tomorrow around 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be pretty cool out, and I want to see if I can. Actually, I want to move the stand um, to another location on the property, and then make it twice as big and put about 10 frames on that hive area. And then on property number 3, I got 7 hives right now, and I can add about. I got enough room already. Stand. I can go about another 7 more. So I want to put about 14 there and about 10 in the other area, and then have just 4 or 6 on my property. There's too many hives right around my area. And see if I get, and then if I can buy the 2.14 acres that's connected to the lower part of my property, then I can bring some of the hives back or have more hives at my place and spread them out a little bit more. So instead of having 16 hives on the stand, I'll probably just have like 10 hives. But I want to get at least 3 feet between each hive, just so I have more room to put boxes and also get away from drifting as much as possible. Yeah, so that's one thing I do. Once I pull the honey, um, I move the queen. If she's not down in the bottom box, she's going down in the bottom box. And then I'll pull the outside frames of the bottom box that are honey and put it right above them. And if there's any honey that had brood in it, a little bit of brood in it next to it, I'll put it, that's cap brood. I'll put that on the outside of the 2 honey frames. So that brood can, I don't have, being in July, August, I don't have to worry about temperature. And that way they backfill those 4 frames with honey. And then typically 99% of the time she stay down in that bottom box going into this time of year. So I can fill that top box up with fall flow, the spot lantern flow, which I did get some of that this year. First year, I think, that I know of, and me feeding them. So all the hives, I got purple buckets. This was my 3rd feeding, so I fed them 6 gallons this year, or 5 to 6 gallons. And then a couple of the hives, I can't put the 2-gallon buckets on them because the custom lids don't allow it. They got 2 to 3 gallons on them. So they should be full. And like I said, the flow tomorrow should be really good. The next 5 to 6 days should be really good flow day, nectar flow days with the end of the goldenrod and the esters. So they should be bringing stuff in. That's why I want to check them tomorrow. My Applemate hive is not heavy. That one I fed the least because I only can put a gallon on them, and I've done it twice. So they've gotten 2 gallons, and that's it. They've gotten the least. I always fill my buckets up, and then I don't have any left over for the Applemate hive. So I don't get them filled up, and I'm out of honey. So it's kind of funny how that works out. Yeah, we have just about 3 years ago. They said they have the spotted lantern flies here, and I finally I saw 2 of them at my brother's farm this year, and I saw a couple of them at my place this year. I don't have any trees of heaven trees, whatever they call them. So I don't see them like loaded on those trees. My summer honey that I pulled, which I got this year, is dark red, and it's got a good taste to it. I like it. Well, sweet with the lantern flavor, and they say that darker colors from the spotted lanternfly. So I'm sure that tree of heaven is all over my neighborhood. So yeah, I've seen them. I saw a few this year. I can't say I've seen a bunch, but a couple of my friends said that their tree of heaven was loaded with them so much that you couldn't see the tree. So yeah, so I guess my bees were finding those trees. And I don't even know what the tree of heaven looks like. That's one tree I don't know very well. And Vincent said zero golden flow. Vincent, 2 weeks ago, we had a good rain, just like this rain, an inch and a half, almost 2 inches of rain. And the next 4 days, it rain ended on Wednesday. It was a little bit cloudy Thursday, like half a day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we got a big goldenrod flow. Monday, the morning I didn't notice any bees flying around, but by Tuesday morning, I noticed the bees were flying all over the place around around my buckets and all that, and that tells me the flow's over. If I don't see any bees flying around my buckets up here on top, up here on up on top of the hives, up here, then I know there's a good flow. When the flow turns off, they're just kind of flying around all the hives or flying around me as I'm sitting back there. They're just not flying in and out like they normally are when there's a flow. And it's been that way since last Monday. So last week and up to today, there's been no flow. But now there's a rain again. Like I said, we got an inch and a half, and it should be raining about now. I can't tell if it's raining or not. I'm gonna look real quick. I'm talking. So the flow should be pretty good. Yeah, the rain is just about ready to start. And it's not much. It petered out a little bit. You know. Hey, I'm not, let me see, it's 20 till 9. I think I'll go to 9 o'clock and see how many people are still on. I got 18, so that's not too bad. I got the diehards here, the A team. We'll call it's the B team. And Nancy never did hop on. She was a little tired today. She texted me earlier. She was taking the night off. She said she might hop on, but obviously it's 8:34, 8:40, and so I don't expect so. Like I mentioned earlier, Vincent, most areas around me, the goldenrod's finished, but I live in a kind of a unique little area. In the goldenrod, my yard and all behind me, the other way, to the north and to the west of me, and to the south of me, it's just started blooming 2 weeks ago. Um, I'm only the second ridge from the Ohio River. So you got the Ohio River, goes up 300 feet, you got a ridge, then it goes down another 250, 300 feet. I'm on the top of the next ridge, and it goes down another 100 feet or so. So the bottom of my property is halfway down a hill. Really hilly, steep hills, short hills, 250 feet up and down hills. And I'm on the second hill, but behind me is the South Fork. I don't know what they call it. Yeah, they call it the South Fork Taylor Creek that runs into the Taylor Creek. And the Taylor Creek is a big creek that runs into the people go fishing in it, catch little small fish in it, and it runs into the Great Miami River, and then I'd say 3/4 of a mile down, the Whitewater River runs into it, and then all that runs into the Ohio River. So when it gets foggy or gets really the cooler at nights, the backyard of my property, the fog will come up, the river moisture will come up just to the base of my house, the lower floor of the basement, and which is over there on that side. The house is behind my barn, and it will be foggy. And I go out the front of my house, and it's clear and sunny. And it only goes up one more property up to the main street, which is a third of a mile up. So that whole valley that I just explained about is cooler, wetter, and damper than the rest of the area, part of the Ohio River, and it blooms last. It's a very late blooming in the fall time. So I just checked it today, and my goldenrod's still blooming. It's not done yet. I think I have about a week. So I think, and the ester is really starting to pop. So I think I got a week of the goldenrod this week, so the next 4 or 5 days, and the ester for until we get a good hard freeze. Now, light freeze won't kill the ester. So I think I got about 2 more weeks, maybe 3 weeks of flow, and this rain should soak the ground enough that I don't think the sun will dry it. So it should stay wet till next spring, basically, or damp. So I don't expect, I think there'll be a flow with the until we get a frost, a freeze from now on. So the next 2 weeks, somewhere around the 20th to 20, anywhere from the 16th to the end of the month, we'll get a freeze. But right now, 10-day forecast looks like it's going to be the end of the third week to the end of the month. So that'll be the end of the flow then. And this rain, this inch and a half to inch 3/4 rain should really help. So where I'm living, it all depends on the rain. If you get a good rain, you get anywhere from 2 to 5 days of flow till it dries out. Till we get to usually till we get to October. And then once it gets wet, it stays wet. So that's it. Pretty much, I already drank my glass of water. And the next time I gotta get 2 glasses. So, yeah, so we got a little bit of a flow going on. Well, starting tomorrow. It's supposed to be sunny in the morning. I think it's supposed to be, I don't know what the temperature, upper 60s. Tomorrow, 68. So that'd be good. It's only supposed to go down to 50, so they'll be flying pretty much first thing in the morning or 9, 10 o'clock, and they'll get the whole day. Thursday morning is supposed to go down to 40, so they won't be flying until 11 o'clock, and then they'll get the rest of the day. And I think it's supposed to be upper 40s Saturday morning. It's supposed to be in the 70s by then again. So they'll get pretty many hours of flow each day. Oh, you're trying to get your 3-year-old to go to sleep. Yeah, good luck, Rodney. Well, the good news is, Rodney, it gets darker earlier now, so it makes it a little bit easier versus summertime. Yeah, days are getting shorter, so we lose an hour or 2 in the morning, we lose an hour or 2 in the evening of them not getting nectar. I get up, I'm out in my bee yard to get my tea, drink my tea and my yogurt, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and now at 7:30, 8 o'clock, it's just getting light out. In fact, this morning I got out there about 7:30. It was just a little bit of light, and the time I got done by 9 o'clock, no bees were flying yet. It was warm enough, but they weren't flying yet. So they didn't fly until they were just starting to get out a little bit at 9 o'clock. So I'd say 9:30, the bees were all out and flying. 9:30. Oh, here we go. I got it. So I'm back. Little technical difficulty. It's like, that was my 2 minute blackout. Yeah, I bumped it when I put my glass down. I bumped my cable and moved my USB. Yeah, I'm going to call it. I was going to try to go to 9 o'clock. Yeah, let's go. I'll call it a night now, and we'll go jump on Bob's. Maybe I'll get on with Bob and give him a hard time about not joining with me and Nancy. Maybe he doesn't like Nancy. I don't know. Don't know the scoop. So, all right. Night, everybody. Everybody have a good week and see you over on Bob's channel. And same thing. I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. Maybe we'll move it to 7 o'clock so we get at least an hour. And we'll see how things are going. All right. Night, everybody. Have a great week and God bless.